So yes, the theme today is how to live to 100 or very much longer. So a few people have raised their hands saying, yes, I live to 100. Love to live to 100. Love to live even if you don't want to live to 100 necessarily, who would want to be healthy, active, and of sound mind right into old age? That's everyone, pretty much, yes. No one wants to be sick, unhappy, and unable to remember anything when they get older. So I'll approach this topic of how do you live to 100 from three different angles. One is the Western materialist scientific worldview. What can you do with Western medicine, Western science to live a long, healthy life? Then I'll approach it from a Western holistic point of view, where holistic medicine, considering everything, not necessarily Western medicine, but holistic natural healing. What do you need to do to intelligently lead a healthy life into old age? And then I'll approach it from the Eastern knowledge of Krishna consciousness, which takes a different approach to what you need to do to live a long time. And from all these three perspectives, we'll hopefully learn what to do and can apply this practically in our lives. So let's start with Western knowledge. How do you live to 100? Well, number one, you move to a different country. There's different life expectations in different countries, obviously. Some countries, you have top ones are like, besides the small countries that have such a small population that's not really comparable. Japan, obviously well known for having a very long life expectation. Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, Canada, Jersey, France, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Israel. All these countries have very high lifespans. And where is New Zealand? It's number 22 there in the middle at the top. New Zealand isn't too bad. So as you move to a different country, it's not necessarily the country itself, it's the lifestyle of the people in the country that influences how long you live. Someone from Japan moves to, say, the USA, suddenly their lifespan just drops to American standard. Move back to Japan, their lifespan goes up again. It's the life you live, influenced by the surrounding country, not necessarily the country itself. And of course, some countries have really terrible lifespans, like Afghanistan, where you're likely to be killed by American bombs and the local population, neither of which are particularly healthy. And then, of course, lack of healthcare and sanitation and all these things cause countries to have very low lifespans. So, moving to a different country, a viable approach to living a long time. Next, get more money. Generally, people that are richer live a longer life. They have access to better healthcare generally, they look after themselves better, more educated generally, less likely to abuse their bodies, less likely to be addicted to drugs, all these things money brings. So having more money, to a certain extent, extends people's lives. That said, there's another aspect of having lots of money that can extend your life. Anyone know what organization this gentleman belongs to? Yakuza, yes, the Japanese mafia. Yakuzas are famous for covering their entire body in tattoos and using all their illicitly won money to lead a very wild lifestyle full of drinking and partying. So, if you drink a lot of alcohol and you cover your body with tattoos, with so many tattoos that the ink of the tattoos tends to block sweat pores in the body. So too many tattoos stop the body sweating, and the body can release toxins by sweat, releases a lot of toxins by sweating. So if you're leading an unhealthy lifestyle, loading your body up with toxins, and the body doesn't have the sweating ability to release toxins through the skin, it accumulates in the liver, and the liver gradually gets sicker and sicker until the liver is a really important part of the body, detoxifies the blood becomes toxic, the body dies. So, probably the biggest Yakuza Japanese crime boss, Tadamasa Goto, had liver disease, severe liver disease, and he was dying. So, what did he do? He found out, he went to the best... Tadamasa Goto is wanted all over the world for his crimes. The minute he leaves Japan, he would be arrested on sight in any country. However, he flew to the USA, skipped the queue at the best American hospital, UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles, and got a liver transplant, and flew back to Japan without anything happening to him. And you're like, how? First of all, how didn't he get arrested the minute he set foot in the USA? Then how did he skip the transplant queue, being a foreigner, and then safely fly back to Japan with no incidents of police doing anything? Well, he gave a generous donation to the medical center and to an undisclosed amount, several $1 million, and they just happened to let him have a liver transplant over someone that actually needed it. Well, he needed it too, but over someone that was on the waiting list. And he promised the FBI really incriminating evidence for a whole bunch of other criminals he was associated with. Of course, that evidence ended up to be complete lies and did nothing for the FBI. So, lots of money, lots of power, got this Yakuza boss a liver transplant, and extended his life. No real person can do that, but because he had crazy amounts of money, he could do that. So you can extend your life, even with a failing liver, with lots of money. Not necessarily the most ethical way of doing things, but it certainly shows what money can buy. Next, you can use a calorie-restricted diet. Lots of animal experiments show that if you let the animal eat as much as it wants versus restricting it to about 80% of what it wants, the animal lives significantly longer, maybe 30% longer. So, generally in Ayurveda, the science of health in the Krishna system, you eat until your belly is 80% full, not 100% full. So, that allows you to live a longer life and maintain a healthy body weight at the same time. And generally, people eat less as they get older, less. So it happens naturally that people reduce their diet. Overeating reduces lifespan. Eating a healthy amount maintains a healthy life. Next, in Western knowledge, get replacement body parts. If stuff in the body ends up failing, yes, liver transplant. You can replace organs with Western medicine is very good at cutting the body open, replacing what's faulty with something else. For example, anyone know what that is? Yes, artificial heart. The heart is a pump. If your heart is not working, you implant this electric pump into your body, have no heartbeat, which is kind of freaky. You just wear a power pack and hope it doesn't run out. Always have spare batteries on you, and it circulates your blood just like it's just like a biological heart. So you can live quite happily for 10, 20 years with an artificial heart. Or artificial kidney. And because there's a real shortage of kidney donors, what Western medicine has started doing is genetically modifying pigs with human DNA so that the pig grows a kidney that is compatible with humans. They kill the pig, cut out its kidney, implant it into a human. Anyone here want a pig kidney? Would you rather die?
Yeah.
So, if there's no human donor available, well, consider it. Next. Suppose the whole body fails. How would you connect your brain to a robot body? You might think, this is science fiction. This is not, can't connect the brain to a robot body, but scientists are working on the ability to connect brains to computers. So if you can do that, if you can connect everything that the brain does through the nervous system to an artificial body, you don't need a physical body that can die anymore. You can simply live as a detached brain. Who here knows who Elon Musk is, by the way? Yeah, most people. Yeah, he's getting more famous. So one of his many companies, besides SpaceX and Tesla and Solar City and Boring Company and all the rest, one of his other newest companies is Neuralink, which aims to create a brain-computer interface. And just last month, he gave a presentation explaining what this technology does. Let's have a listen.
There's a whole idea, what if we were just a brain in a vat? This is often posed by philosophers, except we are a brain in a vat, and that vat is our skull. Everything that you perceive, feel, hear, think, it's all action potentials. It's all it's neural spikes. And it feels so real, it feels very real. But these are all impulses from neurons, what's called a spike. And our goal is to record from and stimulate spikes in neurons, and do so in a way that is orders of magnitude more than anything that's been done to date, and safe and good enough that it's not like a major operation. It's sort of equivalent to sort of a LASIK type of thing. So where you can sort of sit down, machine does this thing, and you can walk away within a few hours. That's it. And you're not even in a hospital. So there's very tiny threads that are about a tenth, roughly, of the cross-sectional area of a human hair. So they're extremely tiny threads. In fact, the threads that we have, like I said, even in version 1, are about the same size as a neuron. And then you really need this to be done with a robot, because it's very tiny and it needs to be very precise. So it's just like, you see the robot on the left, and then what looks like the needles for insertion next to a penny, but in fact the actual needle that gets inserted is way, way tinier. It's that little tiny thing where the arrow is pointing. That's actually the size of the needle. It's about 24 microns in diameter. You can get a sense for the robot doing the electrode insertion. That's a very zoomed in view. So they're all very, very tiny, and the robot is very selectively applying them very delicately. And then this is what the chip looks like. So this, I think, has a very good purpose, which is to cure important diseases, and ultimately to help secure humanity's future as a civilization relative to AI, meaning that we can ultimately, this is going to sound pretty weird, but achieve a sort of symbiosis with artificial intelligence.
So yeah, you wear a little computer chip behind your ear and wires going into the brain. Easy, come in for an hour, local anesthetic, walk out an hour later, have a brain-computer interface where you can remote control computers, robots, artificial limbs, initially for people that are paralyzed, but eventually for everyone. And they're doing human trials next year. So they already have a monkey remote controlling a computer. So you think this is science fiction, but this is coming very, very soon. So if you can do this, you can potentially do away with the physical body and just have a robot body. Easy, right? But what you don't realize is the brain gets sick too. The brain gets sick and dies. Dementia rates are rising and rising and rising. Currently in the USA, 8% of people over 60 have dementia, and only getting worse every year. 20% of people over 70 have dementia, memory problems. Eventually the brain gets sicker and sicker and can't remember anything, can't function properly. Doesn't matter if you're connected to a robot, still the brain is going to eventually get old and die. So even this dream of having a brain-computer interface, it's not a solution to any problem. And of course, from a Krishna conscious point of view, there's so much more to the human conscious experience than the brain. We're not our body, we're not our brain, the Krishna knowledge explains. We are our consciousness, which feeds desires into the physical robot of the brain, which acts out what we want. So, we'll get to that in a moment. But let's continue with the holistic knowledge. So, disregarding the hard science of Western medicine, let's move to the more, little bit less mainstream, but gaining popularity and very useful knowledge of holistic medicine, where you consider the whole lifestyle of a human. In normal Western medicine, lifestyle doesn't really matter. Take this drug, implant this thing, cut this out, get this chip implanted. But in holistic medicine, your lifestyle matters, and what you do, how you live your life, who you surround yourself with. All these kinds of considerations come into your circle. So, we all know Japan has the longest life expectation of any large country, and within Japan, the longest lived area used to be Okinawa, small islands off the southern edge of Japan. Had the oldest population in the world, including people like Sekishishi Uhara, a 96-year-old karate master, or Ushi Okushima, a 102-year-old woman who works in her village, in the field, every day, doing farming work. So, Okinawa has the largest population of people over 100 years old in the world. And by studying the Okinawan lifestyle and lifestyle of populations of areas where there's very long-lived people, researchers have identified 4 main principles that lead to a long, healthy life. You like to know what they are? Yeah. They are, number 1, to move naturally, have an active lifestyle. Keep moving, not be a couch potato. Keep active. Number 2, to eat wisely. You gain 8 years, 80%, not overeating, and plant-based diets. Not eating meat, or very, very little meat if you do. And number 3, right outlook. Have a purpose in life. Not be too stressed, not be putting the pedal to the metal, not be working hard, living hard. None of that stuff. Be relaxed, and feel like you have a purpose, like you're doing something meaningful in your life. And number 4, to connect, to belong to a group, to have loved ones, to feel like you're part of something greater, not that you're on your own, enjoying just for yourself. No, you're part of a community. So all those things together add up to 20 extra years of life. Turns the average life expectation of like mid-70s that we have in New Zealand into living to close to 100. Because most people don't do any of these things. Most people don't move enough, eat terrible diets, work far too hard, and are lonely. Loneliness epidemic all throughout the world. And because of this, life expectation, for the first time in the last 50 years, in the USA has started going down. People are living shorter lives rather than longer lives. Bad diets, drug overdoses, and suicide are the main causes. Even though medicine lets people live longer, people are taking so many drugs, having such bad diets, and committing suicide because they have no purpose in life, that life expectation is reducing, in spite of medicine getting better and better. So let's watch another short video on the Okinawan diet and all these principles in action.
If you look at the traditional diets of more than 2,000 Okinawans, this is how it breaks down. Only 1% of their diet was fish. Less than 1% of their diet was meat. And same with eggs and dairy. So it was more than 96% plant-based. And more than 90% whole food plant-based. Very few processed foods either. And not just whole food plant-based, but most of their diet was vegetable. And one vegetable in particular, sweet potatoes. The Okinawan diet was centered around purple and orange sweet potatoes. How delicious is that? Could have been bitter gourd or sour sop, but no, sweet potato. So, 90+% whole food plant-based makes it a highly anti-inflammatory diet, makes it a highly antioxidant diet. If you measure the level of oxidized fat within their system, there's compelling evidence of less free radical damage. Maybe they're just genetically better antioxidant enzymes or something? No. Their antioxidant enzyme activity is the same. It's all the extra antioxidants they're getting from their diet that may be making the difference. Most of their diet is vegetables. So, 8 to 12 times fewer heart disease deaths than the U.S. You can see they ran out of room for the graph for our death rate. 2 to 3 times fewer colon cancer deaths, 7 times fewer prostate cancer deaths, and 5.5 times lower risk of dying from breast cancer. Some of this protection may be because they're only eating about 1,800 calories a day, but they were actually eating a greater mass of food, but the whole plant foods are just calorically dilute. There's also a cultural norm not to stuff oneself. The plant-based nature of the diet may trump the caloric restriction, though, since the one population that lives even longer than the Okinawa Japanese don't just eat a 98% meat-free diet, they eat 100% meat-free. The Adventist vegetarians in California, with perhaps the highest life expectancy of any formally described population. Adventist vegetarian men and women live to be about 83 and 86, comparable to Okinawan women, but better than Okinawan men. The best of the best were Adventist vegetarians who had healthy lifestyles too, like exercising non-smokers. 87 and nearly 90 on average. That's like 10 to 14 years longer than the general population. 10 to 14 extra years on this earth from simple lifestyle choices. And this is happening now in modern times, whereas Okinawan longevity is now a thing of the past. Okinawa now hosts more than a dozen KFCs. The saturated fat tripled. They went from eating essentially no cholesterol to a few Big Macs worth, tripled their sodium, and are now just as potassium deficient as Americans, getting less than half of the recommended minimum daily intake of 4,700 milligrams a day. In 2 generations, Okinawans have gone from the leanest Japanese to the fattest. As a consequence, there's been a resurgence of interest from public health professionals in getting Okinawans to eat the Okinawan diet too.
So yeah, unfortunate Western capitalist invasion, KFC and McDonald's destroying people's lives. It's been like 25 years since I set foot in a McDonald's. Happy about that. Anyway, if you look at the Krishna knowledge of ancient India, it very much aligns with this holistic medical knowledge. Where if you look into Bhagavad Gita, it explains that there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Too stressful, too much eating, too much stress, really bad for you for becoming a yogi and for your life in general. And one who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by the practice of the yoga system. So yoga is not just stretching and bending, it is eating right, sleeping right, having the right recreation, and having work-life balance, according to Bhagavad Gita, 5,000-year-old knowledge. And this aspect of having the right outlook in life, having the right attitude, that's some proof of that is the study that was done by researcher Ellen Langer, the power of the mind to to regulate the body and that you live a long life. So in this study, they took 75-year-old men who were looking as they were, 75 years old, looking like they were on their last legs, really frail, really old, and they took them on a week-long retreat with nothing special except encourage the people to have a younger consciousness. They filled the retreat area with magazines from 20 years ago, played music from 20 years ago, put newspapers in from 20 years ago, and had no mirrors in there so that people couldn't see themselves, populated the area with pictures of them as they were 20 years ago, and generally had them play sports that they were playing 20 years ago. And indeed, they took their blood pressure and all kinds of physical measures before and after the study, after the week-long retreat. And at the end of the retreat, their physical strength had improved, their vision had improved, they could see better, their hearing improved, their memory improved, and even photos of them. They looked on average 4 years younger after the week's retreat. When independent people looked at the photos and had to judge their age, after the retreat they looked 4 years younger than they were before the retreat. Just from a mental shift. Just from thinking that they weren't as old as they actually were. And there are similar studies with chronic illnesses. If someone sincerely believes that they can get over an illness, then they actually can. They have a much better chance of conquering the illness. If they think, oh, I'm just going to die anyway, they do. So the mind has such an amazing power to improve one's health and let one live a long, healthy life. It said the consciousness creates the mind, and the mind creates the body. Krishna conscious knowledge. So now let's get into Eastern knowledge. This Krishna conscious knowledge that I've been hinting at, how you can live way beyond 100. This is, in this picture is Janishi Rani, who is a yogi living in India, and he doesn't remember exactly when he was born, but he says he was 12 years old when there was a big battle between the Indians and when he was involved in a war against the British. So based on where he was and when the last battle against the British was, that makes him 170 years old. Of course he doesn't have a birth certificate, can't prove that, but it's like, oh, yeah. Maybe this yogi living in India, 170, how did he manage that? No Western scholar will accept it, but maybe there's something to this Eastern knowledge that lets people live way beyond 100. And if you read the Krishna knowledge, it explains that one way to do that is to stop breathing. I think, well, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? But no. I'm just like bears, don't stop breathing completely, but just like when bears hibernate, their heartbeat drops to 4 beats a minute, and that's how they can maintain their body throughout the winter with just one stomach full of food. And the picture of David Blaine holding his breath for 18 minutes, breaking the world record for breath holding on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So humans can, and the way he can hold his breath for 18 minutes is the same trick the bear uses, by using a special meditation technique to slow down his heart. So it beats four times a minute. He uses far less oxygen, and a normal person can hold their breath for 1 or 2 minutes. But with his special mental control, he controls his heartbeat. He can slow down his heart, and the same oxygen lasts for much longer because less heartbeats moving oxygen around the body. So yogis in India use the same technique. The bear can do it, David Blaine can do it, and the yogi in India can do the same thing. So they slow down their heart rate, go into meditation, and because the whole body's metabolism gets slower and slower and slower, the body lasts for a lot longer. So they can have these incredible lifespans by slowing down their heart rate. Next, don't move to another country, move to another body. human body doesn't have a particularly long lifespan compared to other species of life. There's, of course, in Eastern knowledge, there's the science of reincarnation, where if this one body dies, you reincarnate into another body. And that other body might have a very long lifespan. There are sea turtles that live 200 years. There's various trees that live for thousands of years. Of course, you don't have a particularly compelling body as a compelling life as a tree, but if you want to live a long time, that's an option. And then, of course, you can move to a different planet from the Krishna conscious knowledge. And so-called Vedic cosmology explains that there's many planets throughout the universe that have life on them, not just this Earth. This Earth is one of a large number of planets that have life, and not life as we know it here. Humans in their arrogance think that all life must be based on, must look like what we have here on Earth. So if you look for life on Mars, look for DNA there, look for life on other planets, look for life on Europa, look for little life forms in the ocean. No, life on other planets is very different to life on Earth. There's different bodies adapted for different planets. The Krishna knowledge explains that there's even life forms living in the sun that have a body that is adapted to living in such intense heat. And these humanoid creatures that live on other planets have vastly longer lifespans than we do here on Earth. On the most sophisticated planet in the Earth, which is known as Brahmaloka, people live for millions of years, billions of years even. Don't turn this one off if they can find it. Alright, so... No problem. Nice raincoat. Very pleasant. So yes, Brahmaloka, the planet where the oldest people in the universe live. They've been alive since the creation of the universe. Lord Brahma has a lifespan of 311 trillion years. He's the longest lived person on the planet, and it's not that he does breathing techniques or gets replacement parts for his body. No, he naturally has that long a life by inhabiting this planet, this alternate dimension even, where lifespans are much longer. And you can safely live for 311 trillion years. And you do that not by, he does that by having a body made of pure intelligence. He doesn't have a body made out of flesh and blood like we do in Krishna knowledge. Krishna knowledge explains how you can go about reincarnating into a body of pure intelligence, and if you want to live 311 trillion years, then you can do that. There are techniques to do that, explained in Bhagavad Gita. It's hard, don't get me wrong, but it's possible. And people have done that. And then, finally, knowledge of Krishna consciousness in general allows you to live for a very long time. Not in this body. This body, no matter what you do to this body and brain, it'll die, it'll waste away. It's made out of matter. Matter decays in time. Time destroys all matter. All material objects get destroyed by time eventually. This body of flesh and blood gets old, dies, wears out. But consciousness lasts forever. The thing that is you, the essence of who we are as a person, the thing that experiences everything in our life. You might have a thought, but you are not the thought. You might have a body, but you are not the body. But you are the consciousness. You are the experiencer. You don't say, I am me. The me is you. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, for the soul, or the consciousness, there is neither birth nor death at any time. It has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. It is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. So the soul, or the consciousness, continues on to another body when this body dies, and based on the consciousness of the person, the soul can inhabit a different kind of body. If the consciousness is really advanced, it can get a body of pure intelligence and live for 311 trillion years. If the consciousness is less advanced, it might get another planet where people live for millions of years. If the consciousness is a little bit even less advanced, you might get another human body. If the consciousness is really degraded, someone who's been a voracious meat eater throughout their life and taken lots of drugs, they might become an animal or a plant in their next life. So, based on one's consciousness, the soul, the eternal consciousness transfers into a different body appropriate for that level of consciousness. And of course, Krishna consciousness, it's in the name of what we do here. We practice the art, science, and culture of Krishna consciousness. The whole reason we chant this mantra all the time and try to lead a healthy life and do all the meditation is that we can develop more and more of a Krishna a consciousness of Krishna, which means we can leave this material body behind, don't need to take any body and become a being of pure consciousness. And in that way, you can truly live forever. In a body of pure consciousness, happiness, knowledge, and eternity. Satchit Ananda, you might have heard. Eternal knowledge and happiness. So, how to live forever? Well, for one, you're already living forever, eternally, as a consciousness. You just don't realize it yet. But in the current body, healthy diet, lots of exercise, sense of community, and the right outlook. And in future bodies, to get an eternal body of pure consciousness, mantra meditation, bhakti yoga, the yoga of love, and kirtan, music meditation. And then automatically, this becoming vegetarian and leading a healthy lifestyle is automatic byproduct of this kind of transform your consciousness. The mind follows, the mind doesn't crave things that are damaging to the body, and then the body follows, the body becomes healthy, which loops back into the mind and consciousness, because with a healthy body and mind, you have a healthy state of mind and body to practice meditation, which reinforces a healthy body, and so on. And really these two, the current body and the future body, go hand in hand to a really amazing life in this life and in future lives. So, thank you very much. And are there any questions?
How do you know that you're 80% full?
Oh,
When you eat?
great,
80%.
great question. Yes, it's really easy actually. You'll notice when you're eating, if you become conscious of eating, when your stomach is 80% full, your body will release a tiny burp. It will be like a little burp that comes throughout, and you'll feel it come up. And as your stomach approaches 80% full, you'll have one burp, and then there'll be another burp as it approaches 90, and there'll be a third burp as it gets 100% full. So you can gauge how much you're eating by these it's like a little, it's a little bit hard to follow, hard to perceive, but if you become conscious of it, you'll notice it every time you eat. Yeah, pay attention to it.
That was an answer.
Anything else? Good question.
You mentioned these other beings or other planets. Where is this in the Bhagavad Gita? Or
Bhagavad Gita and expanded on in Bhagavatam. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam is the graduate study to Bhagavad Gita.
Is that like an appendix to the Bhagavad Gita, or?
It's, well, if you want to explain it. Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, which is an epic poem, and it describes, it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. You can read Bhagavad Gita, if you just read the Sanskrit, it takes about 2 hours to read, but the full book is commentary to understand the Sanskrit properly. So Bhagavad Gita is relatively short. But then Bhagavatam is a conversation that lasts over 7 days of continuous dialogue between saints and with lots of commentary. It's 18 volumes of books. So that's like a spiritual encyclopedia. Once you finish reading Bhagavad Gita, you read Srimad Bhagavatam, and it goes into incredible detail about all these things, the nature of time, how time is created from the atom, all these different planets, higher and lower planets throughout the universe, great saints in the past that have done amazing things. And it's a fascinating book. Very much recommended.